Hi, I'm Mary Director and I'm a Fun Stamper's Journey Coach. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I do have a blog. It's KreatesKardsJourney.blogspot.com. My business website is funstampersjourney.com/Mary Director. And I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/KreatesKardsJourney. And I will bring this back at the end of the video. Today I'm going to show you a new technique for me. This is the first time I've ever done this, and this is called a reflection or a mirrored image, and I don't think I've ever done a reflection card before. So what I did is I used whipped cream cardstock, I used our pan pastels to create the background, and then I stamped the image and then also did a mirror image. And I will show you in the video today how I did this. Because I'm showing you step by step how the background's created and also then how to do the mirrored image, the video may run a little longer than usual. Hopefully not more than 20-25 minutes though, but I just want to give you a heads up before you start watching. I want to show the complete step-by-step technique, so there's no doubt how I did this. The card base is Pool Play cardstock, and what I did is I took, this is an A2 card, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I took a piece of whipped cream cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 5. And it's, as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than this black frame. So what I did is I took a piece of black cardstock, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and using my Journey rectangle dies, DI-0041, I was able to create a picture frame. So I used my card base, put my image, my reflection image on top, and then put the black cardstock frame on top of that. So I kind of created a framed or shadow box effect for this. And I don't know if you can see it here, but oh, there we go. I used our Journey glaze to create a water effect here. So there's a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of shine, and it adds to the overall look of the card. So let's get started. I'm going to use pan pastels today. And the coloring or the grouping that I'm using with the pan pastels is Party Pop. I leave mine in the container they came in, and then I've gone ahead and put the colors on top. And then one of the pan pastels will have a lid, and you just take it off, put it in there. You can use whatever colors you want for the background. I was trying to give kind of a sunset effect on this card, so I'm going to use more the candy apple, the lemon drop for the background, along with some citrus cooler. And then for the water, I'm using Beach Breeze and Beach Ball. On your packaging that comes with the pan pastels, at the base of the cardboard wrapping, it will tell you the colors of each one. And as you can see, I have daubers in the bottom of mine, but I've gone ahead and taken what was the pan pastel color and put the Fun Stamper's Journey color on here, so I know right away. Also, I have it on my lid. And I should put my little dauber back. I put the daubers, I've used a little bit of Velcro, and so if I had wanted to do the dauber with this, it's already set to go. But today I'm going to use the sponges. Now the stamp I'm using is Stay Wild. It's AT-0207. And what I've done is I'm taking the stamp and I'm kind of calculating where it's going to be, because I want the top image to be as full as possible. So we're going to start like right about here. I'm going to do the base first. I'm going to use a little bit of the black, and I'm just going to go across I want it just a little bit darker. And then I have a paper towel off to the side, and I'm going to dab this off on the paper towel. I'm going to use one side for darker, one side for the lighter, but they usually don't bleed into each other as long as you pat this off. Now, I'm not rubbing hard, I'm just patting this. Okay, so now we're going to do some of the water. So I'm going to pick up the blue, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm just lightly rubbing this in. If you start getting dust on the top of your Pastels, it means that you're rubbing this too hard. Again, I'm going to pat this off, pick up my next color, and come in. This one's a little bit darker than I want. So I'm going to come back in. I patted that off. Now I'm going to come back in and rub that in. And I'm just rubbing back and forth. You can do it in circles if you want. It's just so that you actually get the color into the cardstock. Now, if I was using watercolor paper, there's more of a tooth to it or a texture. And so on that one, you will, it'll, adhere a little bit easier. But I just find just rubbing back and forth works great. I want to add, I don't know if you've noticed, this is a little more blue. I picked up a little bit of green there. So what I had actually done is I picked up some of the yellow and I brought the yellow in. And by doing that, this is actually lemon drop. By bringing in the yellow or the lemon drop color, I'm adding just a little bit of, creating a little bit of a green color here. Okay, I think that looks good. I want to add a little more depth to the water. So I'm going to come back in and I'm just going to pick up the tiniest amount of black. And I'm just putting it little spaces. Coming back here. Now that I've patted this off, now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to rub it in so it blends right in. And maybe just a smidge more blue. And you can do this as dark or as light as you'd like. It's totally up to you. Again, in between colors, I'm patting this off. Now I'm going to work on the sunset. I'm going to turn this upside down just because it's easier for me. I'm going to pick up the orange first, which is Citrus Cooler in the Pastel. And I'm going to come all the way across. And I'm just imagining a sunset and that there would be orange and yellows. Orange, yellow, and red, you think of a sunset. And this line here is going to be my ground. I'm going to think of that as the divider with this. Pick up a little bit more. Now, if I get this too deep in color, let's say I got a little bit more red in it than I wanted, I can come back in with the white Pastel or whipped cream Pastel and go back over that and just tone it down. I'll give you an example here. See, and just see how it just tones it down just a little bit. So there's, if you get too much on there, don't panic. Because it's a form of a chalk, you can, brush it off. A little more orange. But again, this is just a matter of working with it. There's not a right or wrong. It's what you see as the sunset and what colors you want to be prevalent. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit of red. Oops, might have a little bit too much. And I'm just going to do that with a light stroke. I just barely touching here because I don't want, real streaks. Now I'm going to pat this off. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to rub that in. Oh, I like that. Okay, maybe bring a little bit more yellow in that. Lemon drop. And as long as you pat this off in between, you're not going to transfer colors. This sponge, even though the sponge has got colors here, it's gonna be fine. You're not gonna have an issue with it contaminating the others. Just, you know, dab it off. Do not rub. If you rub hard, you'll ruin the texture of your sponge, and we don't want that. This'll last indefinitely. This you don't even need to wash out. You can use this over and over and over. I just put them in a little baggie at the end of the day. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to put my lid back on. And like I said, there's only one that has a lid, and what the lid does, it actually helps you lift it up and out. And then I'll put my cover back on. And this plastic palette that it's in is actually what the Pastels come with, or come in when you order them, and then they come in a bigger plastic container. So I just kept the palette, and then I have a little pouch that I put it in. Okay, so there we go. Now, what I find, if you do this, because I did enough rubbing, there's very little chalk here. But if you're concerned about any chalk at all, just take a clean paper towel and just go across, and you'll see it'll pick up. And then we don't want to cross-contaminate colors here. So you'll get a little bit, as you can see, I've got more chalk down here in the blues. But you don't need to do this. I just do it if I think it's something that's going to be held, you know, handled a lot. The other thing you can do is if you use unscented hairspray, and that would be an aerosol, you could spray this and allow it to dry. This card, I'm not overly concerned about it being touched, and this one, as you can see, really doesn't come off in my hands. So I think I've rubbed it enough that there's not going to be an issue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the stamp, and when I do this, I want to be certain, as much as possible, that I get this on straight. I did one yesterday and I wasn't paying attention and didn't realize I had done the trees a little bit crooked. So we want to, you know, keep this as straight as possible. I'm going to use our True Color Fusion Black Licorice ink. Again, this is all of our True Color Fusion inks are on sale the month of August for 20% off. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to ink this, and with inking it I want to make sure that I'm getting really good coverage. So as I'm stamping, I'm also turning a little bit and putting a little bit of pressure on here because we want a nice crisp image, especially this very first one that we do. Okay, and with our acrylic blocks you can see exactly where you're stamping. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to press down, making sure I've got full pressure all the way around. I'm going to lift straight up. Oh, that really turned out good. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a window sheet or a working sheet. This is actually a sheet that a stamp set came on, and I put a marker around it so that I have a black frame, and this will work underneath my gel press. This one is 5.5 by 4.25, and then when I put it under my gel press, I'll put it so the ink is down, but see, then I would be able to view it through the gel press, and I'll show you that in another video. But I wanted to show you that I was using this, and I'm going to turn it upside down so my Sharpie ink is facing down. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to ink my stamp again, and I'm going to ink it really well. Put the cover back on the ink. I'm going to come here. I'm going to do it as straight as I can, and this just doesn't matter exactly where you stamp this one because we're doing it on the acrylic sheet or the window sheet. Okay, so now we have a stamped image. This is the ink side. I'm flipping it over. I'm matching up the little circles here. And now I'm going to press firmly And I'm just going to use my hand, and it's going to stamp off on the grid paper. That's fine. This is just a reflection. This is so easy to do. Now, you really, really, really want to be sure that you do a great deal of pressure here so your full stamped image, and you also want to hold it in place so that it doesn't slide and smear. Keep your fingers on the left side and gently pick up, and then see, I can see all the trunks of the trees. I know that I'm fine. If not, if I didn't get good coverage, I would just come back and redo with my finger again, holding on the left so that that doesn't shift at all. Oops, and I just shifted the whole thing. Well, you know what? It turned out okay. We're going to leave it. It did shift, so I did get some smearing here, but again, it's the water, so we should be fine. Then with our acrylic sheet, I want to clean it so that it can be used again. I'm using a chamois. I'm using our True Color Fusion Cleaner, couple spritz. And see how quickly that just cleans up. And then the chamois I just rinse out with a little bit of warm water. I could add a little bit of soap, but it's going to stay stained. This is a car chamois. I cut it down to the usable surface that I needed. I put it in a little locking container. Okay, so there is my sunset. Now what I want to do is I want to create the look of water. I'm going to use Journey Glaze, and this is a 4-ounce bottle. We also sell it in a 2-ounce. When I take the lid off, I take a hat pin, or I called it a hat pin. It's also a quilter's pin. If you go into a sewing store, it's got an extra long needle to it, or a point. These have little butterflies, so there's no chance it'll get inside of your bottle here. I just stick the pin right in the top, and then I'm going to rotate it. And I'm going to go down, and then if there's any clogs in here, it cleans it up. I'm going to wipe the needle off. Then this needle is reusable and reusable. I always test it off to the side to make sure we've got, flowing Journey Glaze before I put it on the card. Okay, so now I'm going to go in, and you can do it 2 ways. You can just do the image and put the glaze right over the image parts. This will just take a sec, and I'm just putting a little bit of pressure and going back and forth. I like now you can do it just that way, and so it's just the reflection, it's like wind going over the water. I like the whole thing reflected, so I'm going to come back up into the water area, and I'm going to put little drops of Journey Glaze all over. Don't squeeze the bottle too tight because you'll get globs out, and you want this just to be a nice showing of just where it looks like little ripples in the water, that there's a reflection. Always clean off the tip of your Journey Glaze. Put the cap back on as soon as you're done. And then if you tap that on the table, any air pocket that's in the nozzle should be cleared, and that helps keep that a little bit more clear, that it won't clog as easily. I put the needle in a paper towel, and then I set it aside with my other needles. So now we've finished the sunset and the water. Again, I used Pool Play for the card base, black licorice for the frame, and this was done on whipped cream cardstock. And that's the finished card. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I appreciate it. And again, my information, is KreatesKardsJourney.blogspot.com. My business website, if you'd like to order any Fun Stampers Journey products, is funstampersjourney.com/MaryDirector. And I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/KreatesKardsJourney. Thank you.